Saudi Arabia Comedy Festival. From the folks that brought you 9/11, 2 weeks of laughter in the desert. Don't miss it.
I've been getting a little bit of flack just because like my dad died 9/11, so they're like, how could you possibly go there?
The woman who doesn't want to express grieving or mourning for a group of people who their ideology is against who she is happy to take a paycheck from people who have the exact same feelings.
Saudi Arabia.
Just to get that
I would
paycheck.
Do that.
Yeah.
Why
I'm
not?
doing it.
They just beat the shit out of their women all the time. And the way they were laughing, I was like, no, the women are kind of running shit over here too.
The people who paid the comedians to come to this are not good people.
No, I was just there to do a show for the people.
A ton of comedians recently accepted millions of dollars from the Saudi government to go and perform propaganda. Despite their enormous human rights violations, Whitney Cummings accepted the money, Aziz Ansari accepted it with no problem, David Chappelle could care less, and so many more comedians were paid off by the corrupt regime. So let's get into it. Hollywood loves to pretend that they stand up for what's right, but then why are there so many celebrities and comedians paid millions of dollars by Saudi Arabia to perform? Sounds more like propaganda. We're going to be uncovering the Riyadh Comedy Festival, which was held in Saudi Arabia from September 26th to October 9th. This was the Saudi government using comedians from America to deflect attention from its brutal repression of free speech and other human rights violations. Now, I've never been to Saudi Arabia. I'm not going to sit here and talk poorly about a country I've never been to, but we're going to go through some reports because there's a good reason why these comedians accepted millions of dollars. They're not typically paid millions of dollars to perform here. It's because they're doing something sketchy and immoral. Now, I listen to a lot of NPR, so I actually know who Jamal Khashoggi is. He is a journalist who went to Saudi Arabia and he was unalived by the government there. We need reporters all over the world to report back to us so we know what's going on. And typically a lot of governments will respect reporters out there, but the Saudis did not like Jamal, and I'm pretty sure they chopped him up.
Today marks 5 years. 5 years since Washington Post journalist Jamal Khashoggi was brutally murdered and dismembered at the direction of the Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, according to U.S. intelligence agencies. In 2021, the Office of the Director of National Intelligence released its declassified report that found, in black and white, quote, Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman approved an operation in Istanbul, Turkey, to capture or kill Saudi journalist Jamal Khashoggi. Despite that, Mohammed bin Salman, or MBS, has denied direct responsibility. Khashoggi was Saudi-born, but a long-term resident of the United States and a fierce critic of the oppressive Saudi regime, which is presumably why he was killed, for his words, for his ideas. On October 2nd, 2018, Khashoggi went to the Saudi consulate in Istanbul to get paperwork that would have allowed him to marry his fiancée, Hadija Cengiz. He was never seen in public again. In the days and weeks that followed, brutal details of his killing came to light, including his dismembering with a bone saw inflicted by Saudi agents sent by MBS, as was the premeditated plan to murder Khashoggi. What did not follow, however, was any serious effort to hold MBS directly accountable. In fact, MBS has only consolidated power since then.
Now, again, I've never been to Saudi Arabia, but the Prince Mohammed bin Salman, he's very strict when it comes to what you can say and what you cannot say. Clearly, a lot of comedians here in the States say whatever they want to. That's part of the beauty of freedom of speech.
Well, there's a Riyadh Comedy Festival. I don't know if you heard about that. This is true. There's a Riyadh, Saudi Arabia Comedy Festival. I mean, how do you even promote that? You know, like, from the folks that brought you 9/11, 2 weeks of laughter in the desert. Don't miss it. I mean, the same guy that's going to pay them is the same guy that paid that guy to bonesaw Jamal Khashoggi and put him in a fucking suitcase. But don't let that stop the yucks. It's going to be a good time. Full disclosure, I was not asked to perform at the Riyadh Comedy Festival, so it's kind of easy for me to take the high road on this one. Easy to maintain your integrity when no one's offering to buy it out, you know?
There's a reason why Hollywood stars always seem to walk away from scandals untouched. Just like there's a reason why Morgan & Morgan is America's largest injury firm. Most regular people, including me, don't have a legal army behind them. And if you're injured in an accident, insurance companies try their best to pay you as little as possible. That is where Morgan & Morgan comes in. With over 1,000 attorneys and 100 offices across the country, they are built to fight for regular people, not corporations. In Florida, a client was offered $350,000 by an insurance company. Morgan & Morgan stepped in and got them $12 million. Prior results do not guarantee a similar outcome, but these stories are what they do every day. And it's easier than ever. You don't have to deal with those piles of paperwork. You also don't have to pay anything up front. You could even start your claim right now within minutes by using your phone. You could get started by scanning the QR code on the screen using your phone's camera. Remember, the fee is free unless they win. If you ever find yourself injured, then check out Morgan & Morgan. Again, you could start your claim today by scanning the QR code or visiting the link in my description below. It's fast, it's simple, and it could change everything. Let's talk about some of the people the government has prosecuted. Like this one man known as the Saudi Arabia's Jerry Seinfeld was allegedly handcuffed, blindfolded, and put on a plane to Saudi Arabia when performing in Jordan in 2018. He was also reported to have been forced to divorce his wife, who was a women's rights activist. Another man was jailed for 20 years for running a parody Twitter account. An Egyptian TikToker, influencer, and prankster was arrested for a joke with lesbian subtext. So let's just say if I existed in this country, I would probably be behind bars because of the things I post on social media. If you even upset the government a little bit, even if it's not about them, you could be prosecuted.
Safwan has been arrested in Saudi Arabia for immoral content. An influencer has been arrested in Saudi Arabia for posting immoral content after posting a live video of her asking a woman out in the early hours of the morning. Safwan from Egypt was arrested in Riyadh after posting a video telling a Saudi friend to come at 3:30 a.m. because she was lonely. Her friend said she would not come because it was getting late, and Safwan reportedly said, "It's even better because everyone is sleeping and not hearing what I'm going to do for you." She reportedly added, "They won't hear your screams because we are going to have fun." Safwan was not named by the police, but they posted a blurred version of the offending video on their Twitter account. They wrote, "Riyadh police arrested a citizen who appeared on a program talking to others with sexual content and advice that would undermine public morals. Homosexuality is illegal in Saudi Arabia." Safwan, who has 5 million followers on TikTok and more than 8 lakh subscribers on YouTube, said the clip was taken outside the context of the entire video to create a scandal. It comes just days after Saudi Arabia regulators asked YouTube to remove ads deemed offensive to the country's Muslim values and principles. Regulators have threatened legal action if nothing is done. The announcement follows complaints from Saudi parents that their children were exposed to inappropriate content in advertisements shown on YouTube.
Because there are so many comedians who advocate for free speech in this country, you would think that they would say no to this gig. And they're trying to BS their way out of it. Pete Davidson, who went, said that there were no restrictions on the material he could perform, which is a lie. Another comedian named Atuso leaked a contract she was sent, which included the restrictions. They cannot include anything in their performance that may be considered to degrade, defame, or bring public disrepute, contempt, scandal, embarrassment, or ridicule to the kingdom of Saudi. Like I said, that one comedian who said no to the gig leaked her contract, which thank God she did. Now, I do wish she showed how much they were offering to pay her because the amounts are crazy. She pointed out that the money is coming straight from the Crown Prince, who actively executes journalists, people with drug offenses, and bloggers without any due process. A lot of the "you can't say that anymore" comedians are doing the festival, yet they had to adhere to the censorship rules to do it. So how much are you worth? How much is your integrity worth? Let's talk about Pete Davidson because I briefly brought him up. Now, we all know Pete Davidson's father died in 9/11. It's been a big part of his career and his act. A lot of people were questioning why he would go and do this because of those connections. And to be honest, I'm not too clear what the connection is between the attack and everything else. But there are other comedians joining, like David Chappelle. We've got Louis C.K., Jimmy Carr, Kevin Hart. Oh, it looks like 15 of the 19 hijackers on 9/11 were Saudi nationals. So there's your connection. But Pete Davidson went on to Theo Vaughn's podcast, and Theo was asking him, "Hey, you're going to Saudi Arabia, like, aren't you going to have to follow a bunch of rules there? You can't like say certain things, because if you do, you might find yourself in prison for a very long time.
Out of all the world famous comedians who are taking part in the Riyadh Comedy Festival in Saudi Arabia, very few comics have received more criticism than Pete Davidson.
I've been getting a little bit of flack just because like my dad died 9/11, so they're like, how could you possibly go there?
So your dad died during 9/11. He died in one of the buildings?
Yeah, he was a fireman. They were the first truck over there, and pretty much the whole house, died.
Oh.
Which is sad, but also at least he died with his pals. It's kind of.
So they all went as a group, huh? That's his truck.
No, that's the picture. You see the truck on the bridge?
Oh.
Yeah. My dad's in there, dude. I wonder if... well, you know,
that's some Shane Gillis would say, dude.
Pretty gay, dude. Yeah. He's in there. It's pretty gay.
Let's talk about another comedian, Tim Dillon, who was set to perform at the festival, but he had pissed off the government before he even went, so they said you could stay home. He said one reporter was killed by the government. Unfortunate, but not effing hill that I'm gonna die on, which is pretty disturbing that he just does not care about that scandal. Oh, it doesn't involve me, so I'll accept the money. At first, Tim Dillon said, I'm doing this because they're paying me a large sum of money. They're paying me enough money to look the other way. And it looks like he was making about $375,000 for one show. Tim said that they bought comedy. Do I have issues with the policies towards freedom of speech? Of course I do, but I also believe in my own financial well-being. Crazy that he's only worth like $375K for his morals. Other people were paid like $1.6 million. So shortly after, Tim said that he's not happy about their freedom of speech over there, but he's willing to look the other way. The government hit him up and they were not happy. They said that he said a little bit too much and they'd rather not have him. Tim said, I addressed it in a funny way and they fired me. I certainly wasn't going to show up in your country and insult the people that are paying me the money. But on my own show in my own country where I have the freedom to speak and say things that I want, I'm going to be funny.
Tim Dillon revealed the exact joke from his podcast that got him fired from the Riyadh Comedy Festival just a few weeks before the big gig.
My agent called me and he goes, they heard what you said about them having slaves. And I said, I was being positive about it. I was defending them. He goes, well, I know that. I said, I was defending them for having slaves. I literally said slaves are probably hard workers and for the most part agreeable, but they didn't like that. You can literally support somebody too much. I've learned this. You can actually, by the way, in life this happens. Too many compliments, too much support, and then they turn on you. I was saying that slaves were proud of some of the buildings they built. That's what I was saying. I was saying that if I was a slave, not that I want to be, if I was a slave, and I built a really nice thing, I might say to my slave children, Daddy built that.
It's funny that the government wants to go and embrace these comedians from America, but they're so different than like what they actually want. I mean, the comedians are ruthless out here. So it has to take a special type of person to go and fulfill this performance and follow their rules. Now, a lesbian comedian, which I'm surprised they invited her, Jessica Curson, actually said that she regrets going and performing at the festival. It's a little bit too late, Jessica. She shared with The Hollywood Reporter that she was surprised to be asked to perform at the festival. She went so far as to request a guarantee that she could be open about being lesbian on stage and perform gay material. Now, she says that she hoped her performance would help people in Saudi Arabia, those LGBTQ plus people, feel seen. But now Jessica's saying that she's deeply sorry to all her followers for performing at this festival. She also committed to donating the fee that she had made to a human rights organization, which I think that's the best thing you can do. I really think that's the only way any comedian can like wipe their hands clean of this. I'm surprised they want this money. It's dirty money. It's blood money.
Ms. Curson has commented quite a bit on the happenings in the Middle East. She's commented quite a bit on this, but she hasn't commented really truly on the group of people that are being wiped away. She hasn't truly shown any level of empathy, sympathy, mourning, grieving, or concern for an entire group of people being wiped away. And she's posted some things that hint at the frustration that people have mourned and grieved a large group of people being wiped away, completely erased, where their ideology may be homophobic or transphobic. That's right. The woman who doesn't want to express grieving or mourning for a group of people who their ideology is against who she is happy to take a paycheck from people who have the exact same feelings. In Saudi Arabia, being gay is punishable by death. Saudi Arabia treats gay people so bad, they didn't even get to the rest of the BTQIA. They don't they don't even get there. Trans people don't even have legal recognition in Saudi Arabia. If men wear certain accessories or certain makeup, they can also be punished and go to jail or killed. And all of the things that you've seen to Saudi Arabia for the last decade or so is a form of propaganda. To get all these big celebrities to come over here and perform and show you and be like, hey, it's not that bad. This is a good place, isn't it? Now, Jessica Curson is complacent in that. You want to take a big check from the government that enforces the ideologies that you are so against when there's oppressed people being wiped out. Here's her on a podcast where two people are discussing, yeah, I might do the Saudi show. She's like, oh, why wouldn't you do the Saudi show? I would do that. I just wouldn't do any gay material.
Saudi Arabia. Just get that
I would
paycheck.
Do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, why not?
I'm doing it. 2 days.
I wouldn't do gay material there.
Yeah.
At all.
Weird.
Hannibal Buress, who's widely praised for taking down Bill Cosby, is now taking money from a government that sentenced a 19-year-old victim of gang R-word to 200 lashes and 6 months in prison. Another comedian who was set to perform was Nimesh Patel, who initially said yes before backing out. He said, they did offer a lot of money. I'm not in a position to say no to life-changing money, but he said it wasn't life-changing. Looks like he got more of the few $100,000 instead of the million. Comedian Jimmy Carr, who co-headlined the festival on October 6th, is super open about his advocacy for freedom of speech, which is why he did not advertise this performance in Saudi Arabia at all on his website or social media. If you're gonna go and be like a bigot, then just go ahead and embrace it. So we've got some comedians who feel deeply regretful. They're donating their fees. We've got others who could care less. Like Bill Burr recently did a panel and he does not care. If you criticize him for doing this festival, he accepted this money and he's happy. He's gonna go get a boat. Bill spoke to Conan O'Brien as part of a live podcast. He said he felt wonderful about his appearance and doesn't give an F about what these phony effing people are saying. He said, it was necessary. It felt right afterward. I vibed with them and they were funny. F. They were funny effing people. I don't know what to tell you. I had a good time. Bill said all these see you next Tuesdays out there who don't sincerely give a crap. If you actually give an F about these people and how they're living, then there's going to have to be these things to pull you in. And I'll tell you, the Cheesecake Factory, it's incredible. It's right next to a Pizza Hut and a KFC. If you want a pair of Timberlands, it's across the street next to the Marriott. So he's trying to say that they're trying to bring people into a more progressive light, but it doesn't feel that way. It sounds like they're trying to convince people that they have it all. Like, you don't need freedom of speech. You've got the Cheesecake Factory. You've got the comedians coming here. It's kind of like putting a Band-Aid over the bigger issue.
The great thing about the festival was the people that put it together. When they first said that they wanted a comedy festival over there, they said, okay, what is your restrictions with speech? And they had this whole long list. And the promoter was just like, all right, well, you guys aren't ready for stand-up comedy yet. And to their credit, they said, all right, what are we going to do? And they basically whittled it all the way down to you couldn't talk about any religion. Theirs, yours, anybody else's, and you couldn't make fun of the royals. That was it. And I know a lot of people are like, well, that's up, man. It's like, well, they just progressed the ball. And they go, just let you know, the front row is diplomats. And I'm like, well, what the fuck are they doing? I already have dry mouth going, well, why did I say yes to this? And then the royals were like up in the box, but everybody else was like regular. And right before I went on, this guy yells out, dressed in that whole dish dash thing. He goes, hey, Bill Burr, I love you. Kick ass, man. And I was just like, what? I can't believe this guy knows who I am. And I went on stage and I just started doing my shit. And they were laughing. And I was doing stuff about relationships and they were laughing, which really fucked me up because I thought that, they just beat the shit out of their women all the time. And the way they were laughing, I was like, oh, the women are kind of running shit over here too. So then I just sort of pushed it. I said, I kind of noticed the chicks over here, the hot ones, they wear the veil a little bit lower. And that got a huge laugh.
They're laughing at
They
this.
are laughing. And then I said, fuck it, I'm going to do the joining a gay gym joke with the dudes sucking each other's dicks in the steam room. So I get halfway through it and the monitor goes out. And I'm like, oh, am I going to get arrested? And it ended up coming back on. But I really have to
Were they trying to edit you in that moment? Or you think it was just
No, they
accident?
didn't. No, it was just,
Now, my favorite interview by one of these comedians is from Aziz Ansari because he went on to Jimmy Kimmel and Jimmy Kimmel did not hold back. He asked him hey man, what do you think of being paid off by this government, these terrible people to go and be their show pony? Essentially, that's what he was, paid so much money to go and ignore the bad things happening there. It kind of feels like Aziz is using the same excuse as Bill, but just trying to package it a little bit nicer. We need to get there and be there to help the people, but is this really helping the Saudi people?
These are not good people over there. So did you deal with those people specifically?
No, I was just there to do a show for the people. And I talked to my wife about this, before I went. And she said, whenever there's repressive societies like this, they try to keep things out, whether it's rock and roll music or, blue jeans, because it makes people curious about outside ideas, outside values. And this is a very young country. Half the country is under the age of 25 and things can really change. And to me, a comedy festival felt like something that's pushing things to be more open and to push a dialogue. And you kind of have to make a choice of whether you're going to isolate or engage. And for me, especially being me and looking the way I do and being from a Muslim background, it felt like something I should be a part of. And I hope it pushes things in a positive direction. I share the concerns that people have brought up, and it's all valid. And I said to myself and to my team, I said, hey, if we do this, part of the fee should go to support causes that support, free press and human rights. And it's a complicated issue, but I felt like it was something that's pushing things in the right direction, I hope.
I'm so glad that he did not back down. But now it looks like human rights organizations are now not even accepting the money from these comedians who are feeling regretful. It's bad money. Not even the charities want it. You know, it's bad when the charity won't even take your money. And they said they cannot accept donations from these comedians because of where the funds are actually coming from. While we cannot accept the donations, they say it's not too late for them to call for the release of detained Saudi activists. Human Rights Watch did not call for comedians to boycott the festival, but simply asked them to express their support for free speech. I guess everything comes with a price, right? Even some of your favorite comedians, like Whitney Cummings, like she cashed that check and she moved on. So I'm a little bit disappointed in all of these comedians. What do you guys think in the comments below? I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in a new one soon. Bye, guys.